Looking for a place to talk with a load of Ninjago community members? Look no further, as my Ninjago Discord server is the perfect place. If you're interested in Ninjago competitions, events, and a lot more, trust me, you're going to love it there. Link will be at the very top of the description. We hope to see you all there. It's that time again. It's time I went back and updated a previous ranking video on the channel. Today we are going to be ranking every single Ninjago season finale, all the way from worst up to the best. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. For the sake of today's video, I am not going to be ranking the finales from things such as The Island, Day of the Departed, just because I do not consider those as proper seasons at all, and they don't exactly fit on the list as well as the others do, so just keep that in mind when watching today's video. Also, once the video has finished, feel free to leave your own listings down below in the comment section. With this being said, let's get straight into today's video. Coming in at the very bottom of the list is going to be the finale of the Fire chapter from Season 11. It's very clear that at this point the writers weren't too familiar with how to properly utilise the 11-minute format. Because of that, we ended up with a pretty underwhelming, rushed finale. I will admit that it set things up for the Ice chapter very nicely, but that's basically the only plus side I can really pick out here. It just didn't feel exciting or particularly interesting to watch, and so it was nothing more than a very mediocre end to a very mediocre Ninjago chapter. Next up is going to be the other Season 11 finale, the one for the Ice chapter. This was definitely an improvement over the Fire chapter's finale, but even then it didn't really cut it for me, unfortunately. Some of the fight scenes were really cool to watch, and it showcased some of Wildbrain's incredible animation skills, but the biggest letdown for me was the lack of a PTSD arc for Zane, and also how quickly he reverted back to normal, with very minimal effect taking place on him due to that. It felt really rushed too, and wasn't a satisfying conclusion at all in my opinion. Unfortunately, Season 12's finale is going to have to be in the next spot on the list. Now, that's not to say that it's bad by any means, but whenever I rewatch this thing, to me, it just feels like a really bare, lackluster version of what this finale could have been. I think that way mainly due to the fact that this one also felt rushed. They made the mistake of having the finale take up just one 11-minute episode. Luckily, this was the last time they actually did that, but this took away from a few scenes and definitely lowered my overall score on the episode. With this being said, I did enjoy the finale a decent amount, it just suffered from a lack of runtime. Coming straight up next is one that's 100% going to get me grilled in the comment section, the Season 2 finale. Probably one of the most underwhelming things to come out of Ninjago in my opinion. At the time of the release, this was set to be the final ever episode of Ninjago, and with that it was hyped up a lot throughout the show. We get the episode, we see the Overlord's full form, and we see the final battle. We then see how much of a letdown this was. The final battle to me is just simply not good at all, in my opinion. It's barely even a battle, and it did just feel like no effort was really put into this episode at all, and so it just ends up being really bland and isn't enjoyable to watch. I will say that the standout part of the entire episode is the very final scene. If Ninjago ended there, I wouldn't have been mad at all. It was a nice, wholesome conclusion, while also leaving the door open for future stories to be told. Other than that, yeah, I don't like this episode one bit really. Oh god, this next one is probably going to be very unpopular and a lot of you may disagree with me in the comments, but hear me out here. Up next we have the finale of March of the Oni. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I've ultimately decided that this is where it belongs on my list. March of the Oni as a whole was the literal definition of wasted potential, and so the finale follows through with that in my opinion. Had the finale been built up a lot more over the course of like 10 episodes or something, I think it could be in the conversation of the top 10 best Ninjago episodes of all time, but because it was mainly built up over the span of just 3 episodes, finale flopped and wasn't as impactful as it otherwise could have been. The only invasion that was hyped up loads ended up feeling pretty generic and boring. A lot of scenes were rushed, and then towards the end we got possibly one of the most underwhelming scenes ever, the defeat of the Oni. Mix all of this up into one 22-minute episode and you get a horribly underwhelming finale. It's such a shame because this finale could have been something truly incredible, but in the end, yeah, it just really wasn't, let's be honest. Season 4's finale is coming up next. As of the time of recording, I'm rewatching Season 4, and the thing is, Season 4 is overall a very solid season, but as you head towards the final few episodes, the quality and enjoyment just rapidly declines, and the finale 100% follows through with this pattern. The final battle of the season just felt awkward, and essentially ended up being a huge shoving match. It overall just wasn't that fun to watch. That's then mixed in with some surprisingly good scenes actually. By that I mean Lloyd's flashback and Garmadon's sacrifice. But then even Lloyd's flashback is really awkward in a way, with him jumping off the bounty, having a flashback, and then coming back onto the bounty. It just doesn't cut it for me. A solid season needs an excellent finale, and this one just didn't cut it for me at all. Up next, we are going to be talking about the finale of Rebooted. This finale is definitely enjoyable and holds one of the best and most emotional scenes of the entire series, but for whatever reason, I just don't fully like this one as much as some other people do. Some parts of it feel really slow, boring, and tedious to watch, and that really took away from my enjoyment of the finale. The one thing keeping it up though would have to be Zane's death. Such an amazing and impactful scene, and that one scene makes me appreciate this finale so much more. As much as I just don't like Season 7, I do have to admit that the finale is definitely very solid, and provided us with a good ending to an extremely bad and boring season. I think the time travel aspect of the episode was done exceptionally well for the most part. The concept of the time twins going through time while Kai and Nia and Wu were stowaways was also good, and was definitely the peak of the time travel kind of stories throughout Ninjago's run. Then to top all of this up, we get left with the cliffhanger with Wu and the time twins stuck inside the time vortex, which sets Season 8 up really nicely if I do say so myself. Overall, this finale was weirdly good compared to the rest of the season, and I do find myself enjoying it quite a bit every time I rewatch it. Ah yes, a classic, the Season 1 finale. I mean, how could you possibly dislike this thing? By today's standards, it may seem, well, pretty basic, but in this case, the nostalgia really gets to me, and just the overall charm that this episode has makes me enjoy it that much better. The Great Devourer just ruining everything in its path was really fun to watch. Seeing Garmadon's return in the episode was a great addition, and then seeing the shock ending of Garmadon being the one to go ahead and defeat the Great Devourer was simply awesome to watch. I don't exactly have any complaints here really. This episode will forever be one of the most nostalgic and most iconic Ninjago episodes of all time in my opinion. All around great stuff, you gotta love this finale. Moving on next, we have a finale from a very recent season actually, that being Master of the Mountain. And yes, luckily with this finale, we got introduced to the two 11-minute episode format as the actual finale, which worked infinitely better than what they were doing before. This one definitely did not disappoint. From emotion, action, and just about anything else you'd want to see come from a finale, this did genuinely surprise me when first watching it. And then, just in case things somehow couldn't get any better, the insanely crisp, detailed, and smooth animation really just makes every single scene look 10 times better. I really couldn't have asked for much better with this one, if we are being completely honest. After some more thinking with this one, I've come to the conclusion that one of the best parts about Possession is by far the finale it introduces, which is precisely why it's landed itself at this spot on my list. I don't exactly know what it is, but when rewatching this finale in particular, I just enjoy it a lot more compared to other finales out there. The Preeminent was amazing in the episodes, although it makes me want to get a Preeminent set at some point in the future, not gonna lie. The fight scenes are all really well done. Lloyd seeing his father for the last time was pretty short but sweet, couldn't have asked for too much more there. And of course, how could we possibly forget about Nia's true potential? Fantastic stuff. All topped off by Morrow's demise. Very enjoyable finale overall, it really ticked all of the boxes for me. Up next is going to be the Season 14, otherwise known as Seabound finale. This is the most recent finale as of the time of me recording and uploading this video, and straight up, incredible stuff. By far the best Wild Brain finale in my opinion. The build up to this thing was incredible, and then just as the build up happens, boom, Ninjago City is completely flooded. Death everywhere. Oh, wait. Seeing the destruction of the city at the hands of Kelmar and Wajira was so enjoyable, and then the absolute standout part of this episode comes slightly later on when Nia sacrifices herself, becomes one with the sea, saves everybody, and turns into literal water permanently. It's been just over a month, and I genuinely can't get over how incredible it was. I'm still blown away by this episode, and if this is going to be the standard for future Ninjago finales, then this list is going to get outdated real fast. Entering our top 3 now, kicking things off here we have Hunted. Now as much as I find the Oni trilogy to be really overrated as a whole, I don't think there's any denying that the finales were great. Hunted was no exception and gives us some incredible moments. As I said previously, the destruction of Ninjago City was insane. Seeing Garmadon's very strong rule quickly just crumble was great, and the conclusion of Lloyd's powerless arc was also done really well in this episode. Some parts of it did feel slightly rushed and a bit too quick for my personal taste, but I can gloss over that because there were plenty of other very awesome moments. At number 2 is going to be the finale to the Sons of Garmadon, also known as Season 8. Now, I used to think that the finale for Season 9 was the superior one for the longest ever time, but recently I've had a slight switch in thoughts, and I do have to say, I think Season 8 is quite a bit better actually. What makes this one stand out a lot more, at least for me, is what's happening with Lloyd. The fact that he thinks he's just seen his best friends, well, die right in front of his eyes, with Harumi making sure he watches every last second of it so that he can feel exactly how Harumi felt. It's just a sad, yet also really evil and dark scene that helps fuel that hate the viewers have towards Harumi. Then there is also the uniqueness of the villain. In this case, Garmadon is seizing Ninjago, with the villain standing victorious and the ninja losing. Such a great finale, that's all I can really say about it. Here we go. Finally, at the number 1 spot is gonna be, of course, Season 6, Skybound. I've said this so much, but you know what? Let's just get into it. First of all, you have the sheer uniqueness of it. Time reversal of an entire season is something that is very much unique to Skybound, and yes, I'm aware it does get a lot of hate for that moment. Personally, I can see why it gets hate, but I do have to strictly disagree with the hate it gets. Then there is the rest of it. The ninja, seeing them all finally freed again after a brief hiatus where they were all trapped in the Sword of Souls, was fantastic. Just about everything about the finale I love. I genuinely don't really have any complaints with it, which really puts things into perspective there. Whoa. It's been a long ride, but there we have it. We have now finally successfully counted down the Ninjago season finales from worst all the way up to the best. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed today's video, and so if you did, then be sure to drop a like on it. For a lot more videos exactly like this one, plus a whole lot more, make sure you subscribe and turn on the post notification bell to stay up to date on all of the latest Ninjago news and content from me. I would appreciate that even more this time, as I spent so much time on this video. The support goes a long way, truly. With all of this finally being said though, I will see you all in my next one.